As someone who's been helping Canadians plan their retirement for over 13 years, if I wanted to retire abroad starting from scratch today, here's exactly what I would do. I've seen so many people make the same mistakes when they're trying to leave Canada. They end up getting hit with surprise taxes and they end up losing some benefits that they didn't even know they could lose. And honestly, if I could go back, give some advice to someone just starting to think about it, I would tell them to do things very differently and differently from what most Canadians do. By the end of the video, you'll know exactly how to keep your CPP and your OAS flowing no matter what country you live in, how to avoid the tax traps that catch most Canadians off guard, and how to actually make your retirement savings go 2 to 3 times further. And by the way, if retiring abroad is your priority right now, I do work with Canadians to map out their entire transition. We look at the tax side, the benefit strategies, and what to do with your investments. All of it. If that sounds helpful, there'll be a link in the description down below to book a call. But anyways, let's get into it. Step 1. Understand that retiring abroad is a tax decision first. Here's something that might surprise you. The retiree with the largest nest egg isn't always the one living the best life in retirement. I see this all the time. A Canadian with $800,000 saved and is stressed about money living in a city like Toronto, while someone with maybe $400,000 can live very comfortable in a place like Portugal, and they even have money left over every month. Why? Because they're treating this like a lifestyle decision when it's actually a residency decision first. Retiring abroad is a financial strategy first and a lifestyle upgrade second. In Canada, you can work your whole life, save diligently, and still watch half of your retirement disappear to taxes. We're talking marginal tax rates above 50% in some provinces. Looking at you, Ontario. But here's what most people don't realize. The moment that you become a non-resident of Canada, the rules completely change. Your CPP and your OAS can absolutely follow you. Your tax situation can improve dramatically, and the cost of living can drop by sometimes 40 to 50% depending on where you go. The math doesn't reward just saving more, it rewards planning smarter. So if I was starting today, the very first thing I would do is accept this as a reality. I would stop thinking about retiring abroad as just escaping winter and start thinking about it more as a financial restructuring. So for every decision, my first question wouldn't be, where are the nicest beaches? It would be, what are the tax implications of this move? Residency status, departure tax, withholding taxes, tax treaties. These are not things to be figured out after you've bought your plane ticket. They're things that to plan for months, sometimes years in advance. Once you understand this, everything changes. You stop measuring success by how warm the weather is. You start measuring it by how much of your money you actually get to keep. And that's when real retirement freedom begins. So that's step 1, accept that retiring abroad is a tax decision first. So step 2 is more about making sure that you're not falling into the trap that catches almost every Canadian who tries to leave, which is why step 2 is don't wing your resident status. This one catches a lot of Canadians completely off guard. I just told you that this is a tax decision. So naturally, you'd think that the answer is just to move somewhere cheap and figure it out, right? Maybe you'll even keep a foot in both countries just in case. That's actually one of the fastest ways to get hit with the worst of both worlds. Here's what will happen. A Canadian decides to retire in, let's say, Mexico. They sell some things, they keep their retirement banking open, maybe they hold on to a small condo just in case. They spend 8 months abroad, 4 months back in Canada visiting family. They think that they are now a non-resident, but the CRA may think differently. They end up owing taxes in Canada and their worldwide income and potentially taxes in their new country. They've created a mess that could take hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to untangle. It's a trap, and I've watched it dozens of times as Canadians have fallen into it. If I was starting today, I'd get crystal clear on 3 things. Number 1, am I staying a Canadian tax resident or am I becoming a non-resident? Number 2, what ties do I have to sever to make that status stick? And number 3, what are the rules in the country that I would like to move to? That's it. Those 3 questions solve 80% of all residency problems. I would not try to keep one foot in each country. I wouldn't assume that just spending 183 days in Canada actually makes me a non-resident. I wouldn't leave my primary residence sitting empty thinking that I can just come back if it doesn't work out. Because here's the truth. There is no single right way to do this, but there are absolutely clear wrong ways, and the CRA is watching closer than ever. When you stop trying to game the system and start making a clean, documented transition, something clicks. You stop worrying about audits, your tax situation becomes more predictable, who doesn't want that, and you actually get to enjoy your retirement abroad because you're not constantly looking over your shoulder for CRA. Step number 3, pick a country with a tax treaty. Without a tax treaty, Canada will withhold 25% of your CPP and your OAS payments. With a treaty, this can drop to 15% or even 0% in the case of countries like the US. Here is a list online of all the tax treaties, and I'll leave a link in the description down below. But you can see here, for example, that a country like Mexico will have a 15% withholding tax on pensions as opposed to the 25%. This site should be one of your first stops before you make a decision because it can result in a massive tax difference for you. Step 4 is to know the 20-year OAS rule before you go. Many Canadians have no idea that if you've lived in Canada for less than 20 years after the age of 18, your OAS stops 6 months after you leave. This is a massive gotcha moment that catches a lot of people off guard. For OAS, you need to know that if you need at least 10 years in Canada after age 18 just to get partial OAS if you stay in Canada. And if you don't have at least 20 years in Canada after 18, you'll not be allowed to take your OAS with you if you retire abroad. Step 5, do not touch your RRSP in the wrong way. Many Canadians don't realize that they can keep their RSPs in Canada after leaving. Now, not all financial institutions will manage accounts for non-residents, so that's important to know as well. But once again, you'll be looking at a 25% withholding tax in general, and once again, this is a great time to revisit the tax treaties to see if there's countries that would withhold less. What's really nice here is that you still have the opportunity to do an RSP or a RIF meltdown, just like those of us that end up staying in Canada. Step 6, test drive before you buy. Now, this is somewhat self-explanatory, but I recommend trying to spend 1 to 3 months in your target country before any permanent decisions are made. Rent an apartment, buy some groceries, use their healthcare system, see how it actually feels living there day to day. Too many people romanticize a place based on a 2-week vacation. Now, obviously, this is easier said than done. And for many, you can't take 1 to 3 months. So for those of you that can't, try to go to the same place for 1 or 2 weeks for a number of years in advance to try it on as best you can. Step 7, research the departure tax that nobody ever talks about. When you become a non-resident, the CRA treats certain assets as if you've sold them. It's called a deemed disposition. And they can trigger capital gains tax even though you haven't actually sold them. Some things are, of course, exempt from this, things like RSPs, TFSAs, and your principal residence. But certain shares, collections, paintings, they can all be included on this list, and it could create a tax problem. Number 8, your CPP timing might need to change. If you're planning to leave Canada at, let's say, age 62, it may or may not still make sense to delay CPP to 70. The math changes when you factor in lower costs of living abroad and potential withholding taxes based on those tax treaties. So this would be something to review on a case-by-case basis. So that's exactly how I would approach retiring abroad if I started from scratch today. But here's the thing, whether you end up leaving Canada or not, there's a good chance that you're paying more in taxes right now than you actually need to. I've seen retirees lose thousands of dollars every year to CRA when they do not have to. That money could be going towards travel, your grandkids, or enjoying your retirement more. So that's exactly why I made this video right here, where I break down how to pay less in taxes in Canada, legally, of course. I'll see you there.